Hey guys, welcome to another weekly focus, and as usual, the first thing, let's look at the opportunities we had for last week. I'll just go through the trade recap real quick. So let's see right here. Alright guys, so the first thing I was looking at, or the first pair I was looking at, is the S&P 500. So this was on June 16, and I was looking at these buys on the S&P 500 right here. So I got in on these buys on the S&P 500, and as the trade started moving in my favor, the trade management again, and it's very important, you need to do your trade management thing. So I had my stops move to break even at this point, and I had say 1% at this point secured already, if you look like right here. And then eventually we had the trade reversing, so I closed and it took me out on this, say at 1% in profit. The same thing, like the similar move, and I said this last week, I was looking for buys on gold, US30, NAS100 and BTC as well. So on NAS100 as well, we had a similar buy, had those buy entries, stop loss move to break even as well, and then secured on this one just 0.8%. And eventually, just like the S&P, we had this reversal to the downside, and it took me out at this point. So it was a good one on the S&P 500, it was a good one on NAS100 as well. I'll look at US30. So with US30, I think we got in on June 16 as well. So right here, so this is the buy I was looking at on US30. So right here, I think I got in on this one once the market opened. I didn't really hesitate, and I said this during last week's market focus, that once the market opens, I'm looking to go in on a buy on this one. And let's look at the trade management on this. As price started moving, we had stops move to break even as well. Secured at this point 0.56%, and just watching how price is moving, and I secured at this point say 1.78. So with the US30 one, I still have this trade up and running. I haven't closed this yet because price hasn't really reversed to take me out. But with the S&P one and NAS100, price had that massive drop, which was like a reversal or a pullback, and it took me out. Now with BTC, this was a loss for me. I had this buy on BTC. I attempted the buys on BTC as well, and this didn't go properly, so it took me out on this. So this was a -1 on BTC. And when we look at gold, I had this buying opportunities on gold as well, and I think this took me out on the break even. So yeah, June 14. So I was looking at this buying opportunity on gold, and if you've watched the price action, like the aftermath of it, it's actually performed. But for me, I just had a break even because I had my entries here, and as you see, as price started moving and I had my stops move to break even, I think this was quite early compared to the move and compared to everything that's happening. This break even on this pair was probably too early, and then price took me out on a break even on this one. But when you look at gold, I'll look at the chart in a bit, you can see that the move eventually played out. So that's it for the market recap, or the trade recap. So good entries on NAS100, good entries on S&P 500, perfect entries on US30, a loss on BTC, and eventually a break even on gold. So let's look at the opportunities we have for next week. And as usual, you know, the first thing we look at is just the DXY, and I'm going to look at these time frames individually. So I have the daily, the 8-hour, 4-hour, and the hourly time frame. And if you look at it like just from this big picture already, you can tell what the DXY is trying to do. But to make it easy, I'm just going to look at each time frame individually, and then we'll walk our way down. So I'm going to start, say, with the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, so last week, this is what I was looking at. So price was somewhere around here, I can't really remember, but I was looking for a possibility for price to test this area of say 105, and then we see this move up to 106 depending on how price reacts at 105. Now the good thing about this is, in as much as price didn't actually get to 105, we actually had prices holding at this point, which was still good, because then I could tell that there is a trend that is building up at this point. So I still had this confidence that in as much as we didn't get to this point, it's quite okay, because then I can see clearly that there's a trend building up right here, and this trend on this part give rise to the movement we see to the upside. So just looking at it from the daily time frame, my expectation for the DXY is to probably see the DXY hit 106. Now there's a possibility that the DXY could go as far as 107, an area like this, so we could see this buys continue to like 107. But because I'm looking for something to do next week, I'm not trying to go so far like say 2 weeks from now or stuff like that. And again, there's this possibility that coming into next week the DXY could even make 107. It just depends on the volume, it depends on the pressure that is coming in from the buyers and stuff like that. And if this time frame keeps holding, if the daily time frame keeps holding like this with this trend moving to the upside, and then all we're looking for is probably just pullbacks and then a continuation to the upside. So looking at it from the daily time frame again real quick, all I'm looking for is the possibility for price to take say 106, because we went through 105, we didn't break 105 to go lower. And if we didn't break 105 to go lower and price is holding on this trend line right here from the daily time frame, then from the big point of view, the next point we should be testing is 106. Once we get to 106, then a decision has to be made at this point. Is price trying to break through 106 to give us a pullback and continue to the upside, or is price going to reject at 106 and then we see the DXY coming back to 105? So we've just been trading between 104, 105, 106, and that's it for like a very long time. So if you look at it from this point, like right here, this was like June 7. So, and even if you go like far behind, say from April, like right here, from April right here, we've just been trading within say between 106, 105, 104, holding at 104 back to 105. So now we should be headed to say 106. But let's look at lower time frames. So let's look at say the 8-hour time frame and see the possibilities we have. And just from the daily time frame again, I'm looking for a possibility for us to hit 106. But then let's move to lower time frames and see if the picture becomes clearer. So I'm looking at this on the 8-hour time frame, and again, don't forget we have price reacting here and it's taking out these highs, price reacting here, it's taking out these highs, price reacting here, it's taking out these highs. So when you look at this just like say pure price action, every time a high is taken out, so you have these highs here taken out, you have the move to the upside, you have a pullback. This high is taken out, there's a move to the upside, there's a pullback, or there's a correction. Now we have this highs taken out as well, and price has moved again to the upside. So we should expect some kind of a correction to come in, and once this correction comes in, then we should see prices again moving to 106. Now this is the 8-hour time frame, and I'll step down to the 4-hour time frame and the hourly time frame just so we can see what actually happening. So when we dissect an area like this, it's going to make more sense. So staying on the 8-hour time frame again, there's what we're looking at. We're looking at highs being taken out, we're looking at the pullbacks, highs taken out, pullbacks, highs taken out, there's a pullback. So with this high being taken out, I'm expecting a pullback again to this area. And if this area holds, so in this case I'm not waiting for price to get to 105, because if price breaks out of this area and start testing 105, then I'm looking at a different setup altogether. But if price pulls back to this trend line and it holds, then the next possible move or the next possible area price has to go to is 106. And as I said before on the daily time frame, this could explode and even go to 107, but my focus is just to see what happens at 106, and I'll make a decision from that point onward. So another thing I'm going to show you on the 8-hour time frame is just an understanding as to how this price is moving to the upside. So what is price telling me? So I see this impulsive move to the upside, and I see an impulsive move down. I see this corrective move. This is not really corrective when you look at it from the 8-hour time frame, but I see buyers coming in and not as impulsive compared to this one, so it's kind of choppy. And I'm comparing this lows of price put here, or this correction, and I'm comparing it to this. So all in all, the buyers and the sellers, there's some difficulty. It's not that impulsive, so from either side. So here we had an impulsive buy, here we had impulsive sales. Now we have some kind of choppy move to the upside, a correction came in, and we still have this choppy move again to the upside. So when I'm looking at this, it tells me at one point this uptrend, when like price is taking out these highs, as price keeps taking out these highs and it's not giving me impulsive buys, there's a possibility that at some point we'll eventually see this thing tanking down again. So but for now I'm still sticking to the buys, I'm still sticking to the move to the upside on the DXY, and this is very important because this understanding alone helps me make quick decisions when I look at other asset classes like US30, NAS100, S&P, gold and BTC. So at this point right here, I'm expecting prices to pull back and we test 106. But then let's look at say the 4-hour time frame and see if there's anything better on this time frame. So again, we're still looking at the same thing, and when you start looking at the 4-hour time frame, you can tell, you look at an area like this, there's a move up. Now on the 4-hour time frame, this is not clear, but there's a trend that is building up here if you look at it on the lower time frame, like the hourly time frame. But you see this move up, there's a shallow pullback, there's a move, shallow pullback, there's a move, there's a shallow pullback. So when you look at this on say the hourly time frame, you probably see a trend that is building up in here, and if this trend gets violated, most people looking at this from the hourly time frame might think price is headed for sales. But when you take into consideration that we have this trend from the daily time frame, then you can say, all right, if this comes in, this is simply a correction like this. It's just a correction that comes in, and we should have prices testing 106. So that's what I'm looking at on the 4-hour time frame, and we can step down to the hourly time frame real quick, and the picture remains the same. There's not much of a difference on the hourly time frame. So when you look at it from here, again, look at what's happening. So you have prices moving to the upside, there's a pullback, upside, pullback, pullback, and price starts struggling at this point. So you can tell already there's a pullback that is coming in because price is really struggling to make these highs. And if you look at it, the highs are quite shallow. So you look at this high is taken out, this high is taken out, this high has not yet been taken out. So if this high gets taken out impulsively and then price say gets to 106, I'll pay attention to this as well, because if you look at this price action, it's very corrective, it's not very impulsive. So even if price gets to 106, there's a possibility that price is going to find it difficult to go through 106, and we should see prices coming back to test this area and then move back to the upside. So that's one possibility. Another possibility could just simply be say price staying around here, finding it difficult to make new highs, and then we see prices dropping again to this trend line just to test this trend line, and then we see prices moving now to the upside. So that's another possibility as well. So this is my bias on the DXY. Looking at it from the daily time frame, 8, 4 hour, and the hourly time frame, the DXY is still moving to the upside, so there's no need for me to call say a bearish move on the DXY as of now. So there could be a temporal move to the downside. So if this move comes in, it's just a correction, it's just a pullback for a bigger move to come in, or for this continuation to the upside to come in. Looking at it from the daily time frame. So this is what I'm looking at coming into next week. So I'm just going to make this bigger real quick. So coming into next week, I'm expecting something like this, a test of this area. If price keeps holding at this point, then we should see a move again to the upside. So that's what I'm looking at coming into next week. So let's look at say US30. So I still have my trade, or I still have this trade running on US30. So now because of what might happen on the DXY, this push coming to the downside like this, we might see US30 continuing its move to the upside. Now if this doesn't happen, then what I'm also expecting that's why I still have this position open, because I have my stops here. I'm just trailing the stops. I'm gonna make this bigger as well. I'm trailing the stops on US30 right now. So if that pullback starts coming in on the DXY like this, just to fulfill this area right here, then we should see US30 continuing its move again to the upside, and it might just give me a little bit more and then you have now say some kind of correction coming in. But worst case scenario, let's say the US30 decides to drop and take me out from this position, and then the next level I'm looking at is 39,000, and once price gets to 39,000, I'm waiting for the reaction that happens here. If price finds it difficult to go through 39,000, then we should see prices moving again to the upside. If price goes through, we should see a test of this, and then we see prices moving to the downside. So right now on the DXY, if you use trend lines, so you can look at something like this on the DXY. So price is still moving to the upside, and there's no need for me to start selling from this point. And in as much as you see this difficulty here, price is still making this. There's a tap here, taking this out. Some sort of a tap here, taking these areas out. Tap, price move again to the upside. So I'm expecting this price to probably pull back here, or just pull back a little bit to an area like this, and then you see this move continuing again to the upside. However, if it takes me out on this, so let's say the pullback comes in on US30 and it takes me out of this position, I'll look at 106, I'll watch the reaction at 106, and then I'll make a decision as to what to do. Probably go back long or watch and see if there's a possibility for us to start selling again. So with this one, I just think I'm not rushing on US30 right now, simply because I have a position in already. So if coming into next week, I'm looking at a few things. Is the area of 106 going to get tested? If not, then I'm looking for a possibility where price just continue moving again to the upside. The next level for me on US30 is 40,000. So if this continues, you could see, say, some kind of a slow movement again to 40,000, and I'm just going to hold this position and keep trailing my stop loss. So that's it for US30. And NAS100, I actually like this one. So NAS100 is a good one. So first off, as I said before, there's a lot of selling opportunities I'm looking for, and that is mostly, say, with NAS and the S&P. So when you look at NAS100, for example, we had this move to the upside. Price was giving us this characteristic highs and lows. So there's a tap move up, there's a tap move up. Price doing the same thing, taking out this kind of a pullback, move to the upside and stuff. But once we got to 20,000, which is this area right here, we went through this, and then we had a massive drop coming below 20,000. So at this point, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, if you like, you can say this move to the upside has been taken out. So there's this elimination of the uptrend. So what I'm looking at right now on NAS100 is a test of 20,000. I want to see how price reacts at this point. So I know there's a possibility for some buyers to come in, but I'm not trying to take this buyers right now. I just want to see how price moves to 20,000. If it comes in correctively like this, if I see this kind of a correction coming to the upside, and then I'll be happy, because a test of, say, 20,000 with a corrective move tells me there's that difficulty for the buyers to go to the upside. And I'll look at the reaction that happens here. If it's really difficult for price to take out areas like this, or to take out these highs, then we could see the drop to the downside, and that's why I'm looking at this for a possible sell coming into next week. And then the S&P 500 is the same thing. So you look at the S&P 500 as well. So you have these reactions here. You have hold on. You have this reaction here, price taking out this area, reaction here taking out this area, and eventually we got to 5,500. 5,500, now we had this move to the upside, but then a massive move to the downside. So all I'm looking for, and every time price goes through a side number, I'm just waiting for it to test the side number, tell me or show me the reaction at this point. And if it's difficult for prices to take out this high right here, then we should expect prices to drop to the downside. I'll be very cautious with the sales on the S&P 500 and the sales on NAS100, because when you look at the big picture, say from the daily time frame, I'm not going to step there, but when you look at the big picture from the daily time frame, this move is there's still a massive move to the upside. So I'll be very careful once I take these sales because it might be a temporary sell just as a correction to fulfill some price point on the daily time frame. So that's what I'm looking at on the S&P 500. It's the same thing, the S&P 500 and NAS100. I like these ones because it's very easy to trade them alongside. So it moved to 5,500. I'm looking for the reaction at this point, at this psych number. If I get this difficulty for the buyers to go through, then I'm looking for sells. Same thing on NAS100. Some difficulty here, I'm looking for sells. Now US30, I explained this already. So the next one I'm looking at is gold. So I had a buy position on gold around here. So we took this buys, price came back. I had a break even on this one, and price eventually moved again to the upside. So the management on this wasn't that good. I didn't manage this properly, but that's fine, that's gone. So let's look at what we have right now on gold. I think right now the best thing for me to do on gold is probably just sit. Like, I'm not gonna touch this, say, for a couple of days, because it's quite difficult. Like, there's no structure I can play with right now. So all I see is this corrective move to the upside on gold. We tested this area, which was 2300, and from the analysis I had last week, I was expecting this buys from here. I was expecting price to move and say get to 2400, but we just went, I think, midway, and then we had this drop coming in. So right now you can tell that price is respecting this trend right here, and you can say there is this move outside. So I'll watch this closely, because if price finds it difficult to move again to the upside, if price finds it difficult to take out areas like this, then the next area I'm looking at is 2300. Now pay attention to what's happening on the DXY as well. So if the DXY pulls back, say like this, and then gold doesn't make, say, a massive move to the upside, once the DXY starts playing back to the upside, then we could see this impulsive move from gold testing 2300, and there's even a possibility for gold to probably break 2300, and we see this price heading to 2200. So I'm watching this closely, and if you remember, we've been trading within this area on gold like this. So we've been trading between 2400 and 2300, and every time we had price reacting at 2300, we had prices getting to 2400. We had prices reacting at 2300, and it hasn't gotten to 2400, and this massive crash is coming in. So I'm just going to make this clean real quick. Make it clean, like right here. And this is how I use psych numbers. It makes it very easy for me. So with this reaction here, I was expecting prices to get to 2400, but we got midway, and then we had the drop that came in. So if this finds it difficult again to move to the upside, and you have this correction here, we should expect a break and the test of 2300, and a possible break, react, and then we see price heading to 2200. So right now the buys on gold, I'm not really going to touch this. Yeah, it might be tempting to take these buys, simply because if you're trading off of, say, trend lines, and you're looking at this, yes, there's a possibility you probably want to take these buys on gold if you see prices coming back in and settling right here, and then you see this buys coming in, which is the same thing that happened here. You see this price, you see this correction, and you see this move to the upside. So a similar thing could happen on gold, where you just have price reversing, consolidation, and then you see the pop out, and you see prices moving to the upside. That's not a position I'm going to take. That's not a trade I'm going to take. It's not a setup I'm looking at. It's a possibility, but it's not a setup I'm looking at. So with this one, I'll be patient. I just want to see what happens. If it decides to buy, I'll watch this closely and see if it still wants to head to 2400, and then I'll probably get in somewhere here or somewhere here. It's still going to give me an entry and stuff like that, but for now I'm just going to be patient, because this could break again to 2300 and even go lower than that. So that's it, guys. The best pairs I'm looking at for next week is NAS100. It moved to 20,000, and a reaction at this point is going to determine this sells for me. The same thing, the S&P 500, it moved to, say, 5,500, the reaction around this point is going to determine this sells for me. So the S&P 500 and NAS100, that's all I'm looking at for next week for possible sells. And for US30, I'm just going to manage this accordingly. There's no setup I'm looking at for sells, unless, let's say, price breaks and gives me like a test around here and we could see some selling opportunities. So that's it for this week, guys. If you found this interesting, don't forget to use the comment section, use the like button, and hit that subscribe button if you're just coming in new. Use the comment section and tell me what you're looking at. And that's it for today, for this week. Bye for now.